I'm not sure how clear this video will come in, and I'm actually not even sure that anyone will view it, but I still want to make it. This is one of these like complex videos when it comes to body composition, why a lot of people really fail. And here's what it comes down to. When it comes down to people talking about like maintenance calories or being in a caloric deficit or being in a caloric surplus, you can easily sort of chalk that up to weight gain and weight loss. But what people can't ever really explain is, why do people plateau? And then also, why do people get either bloated or not feel good or inflamed when they're on a diet, or seem like they have these setbacks that lead to sort of temporary weight gain, or certainly unwanted metabolic labs, or their labs blood draws, which is like a snapshot at like a moment in time. And what happens is they begin to, freak out, or they say like, this isn't working, or, this person's wrong. I was doing it all right, and now I've plateaued. And we got to kind of figure out why. Very often when it comes to maintenance calories or caloric deficit, and they're not the same thing, but they are in the same universe, because only in a caloric surplus are you sure to gain weight, including muscle. So, in other words, you're going to burn fat and you're going to burn some amount of muscle if you're in a caloric deficit or in caloric maintenance, as long as you are active. Does that register in everybody's brain? I sure hope so, because that is a scientific fact. Again, I repeat, if you are at caloric maintenance or if you are in a caloric deficit based on your basal metabolic rate, you are going to lose weight and lose muscle on some level. It's okay to lose a little bit of muscle, everybody. Like, it's okay. Not going to die. However, over time, your goal is, whether you know it or not, I don't care if you're an elite runner trying to average 30 miles a day, and 26 miles a day, right? Cam Hanes, right? Or a marathon a day, whatever it is he does. Or if you want to be Ronnie Coleman and pack on all the lean mass and walk around at 3% body fat come show day, so you can take your shirt off at the beach and just be, chiseled and ripped, male or female, whatever the case may be, okay? It's maintenance or caloric deficit, you're going to lose a little bit of muscle. So, how do you maintain it? How do you stay lean? Sorry, I think I got a little off track. And that is, you eat your 0.7, that's right, 0.7 to 1.2 grams of protein per pound of body weight. And then people start to freak out a little. How should they know what that is? The simple way of doing it is that there's 4 calories, that's right, 4 calories per gram of protein. Same thing as carbohydrate, which we'll get to that. 4 calories per gram of carbohydrate. And then you start to go to this thing called Google, and you type in how many grams of carbohydrates is in this food, how many grams of protein is in this food. And they'll tell you, well, how many ounces? So it'll be like, okay, 8 ounces of chicken breast is 50 grams of protein, or whatever it is. And then you can start to calculate, oh my God, I'm going to get my 100 grams or my 200 grams or my 160 grams of protein. And for those of us, which there's a gigantic portion I'm about to talk to, that are overweight, those overweight people, aka your BMI is like over 26 or 27 if you're a guy, and if you're a girl, it's probably look a little over 30, or whatever the metrics are. And if, in my opinion, if you are even a little overweight, you might as well classify yourself as obese, because those are like 10 fat pounds that are vital to you being pre-diabetic, having hypertension. Fatty liver is very possible. Triglycerides probably not looking so good. And then you can go down the road of if you're going to have a sleep apnea test or a coronary calcium score, and all the other reasons you want to prevent the number 1 leading cause of death in the United States, and that is heart disease. So, I digress. Back to protein and managing that. So it's really not that hard. And then you get to fat. And here's where everybody who wants to eat good starts to F up royally, and they lose their mind, and they just blame everybody and everything, and that didn't work, and it's my hormones and my thyroid and all this other nonsense. And here's the thing. Unless you have a diagnostic fucking test from a doctor that has proven that you have something wrong with your hormones, and I mean really wrong, that it's affecting your metabolism that much, then your diet sucks, and that's all there is to it, and you can't accept the reality of the way metabolism actually works, is the way burning energy actually works. How long stuff stays in your system, how bad something you ate affects your insulin and blood glucose and your kidneys and your liver. So, fat is double, more than double, the calorie per gram. So that's right. It doesn't mean that fat is bad and that fat is making you fat. It means that when you are eating caloric deficit or caloric maintenance diets, the way you get in trouble is, as my manual states for clients, before you go nuts on nuts, 9 calories per gram of fat. That's right. Those almonds that you're eating that are healthy, those chia seeds that you're eating that are healthy, those avocados that we all should be having as healthy fats, those fatty fish that have a higher fat content than we're even aware of while we're eating our protein, okay? The fat component, the fat content of that food, the densest, fattiest piece of that food is indeed 9 calories, 2.25 times more than the carbohydrate or the protein. So what that means is every time you double up on that and you're not aware of how many grams of fat you're eating, you could be putting 400 to 500 calories, because that's what everybody understands, calories in, calories out, 400 to 500 calories of fat from those almonds, from those peanuts, from the peanut butter, from your nut butter. What happens if you're on a 1,500 calorie a day diet and you are eating 5 smallish meals, but your snacks aren't consisting of 180 to 200 calories? Again, if I was to make you a specific diagram of fat intake, you would know that your 180 to 200 gram of fat in a snack or in a meal is just that, and you can't exceed that and expect to have success. But if you had 500 grams of fat in something that's like a processed bag that also has M&Ms that may have extra salt or might have a seed oil that you're not even aware that's in there, you could theoretically be having 800 to 900 calories in one sitting, not even realize it. You think you're having a snack or something in a caloric range that's acceptable, even though the stated amount on the bag or the serving isn't equal to what you're actually eating, because it's hard to become satiated. And I'm just going to drop this in here. It's really hard to become satiated unless you're on a GLP-1 nowadays, because food is so hyper palatable. So I hope that what I just said makes a lot of sense, because that is why people fail so miserably with their diets, so miserably at tracking calories, so miserably at understanding what's actually going in their mouth. I'm sorry to put it that way, but it's the truth. They just don't get it. And then the consequences of all the other artificial sweeteners, all the additives, and all the other kind of diet or sugar-free foods. Those are really dangerous. And I'm going to give you the little cheat reason why. As I pull up here to my destination, I probably carried on way too long. The reason why is because your brain thinks that it's sugar. It's that simple. When you're so used to having a certain amount of food go in through the small intestine, once it passes and it bloats through the jejunum and the duodenum, the way our body reacts to the same type of filling or sweetness or sweet mechanism translates right away, instantaneous nervous system, brain to body, body back to brain. Think that it's a blood sugar signaler and an insulin signaler, and the cycle just repeats. When you have a treat or a sweet or something out of a wrapper that, and yes, not Lil Wayne rapper, but actually rapper, that like a W is before the R. When you take that snack out and you eat it, if it has sugar substitutes, it can often be much worse than just the regular sugar, especially the natural sugar that comes from the fruit itself, like dates, like blueberry, strawberry, that type of thing. So here's the deal. The issue isn't just that it's like fake sugar. It's just that studies have sort of, I shouldn't say studies, I should say science has quantified and exactified the fact that it will alter your gut bacteria and make it much harder for your body to process. When it is pro-inflammatory to the gut-brain axis, that's right, cytokine storm begins of inflammation due to food intake. That is where the idea of irritable bowel, cause leaky gut, cause small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and other GI-related diseases that us Americans struggle so much with. And that causes strain and stress to the body, which could lead to certain cancers. There is something in science called the cephalic phase insulin response. I always talk about blood sugar and insulin to oversimplify the way the body will either utilize insulin appropriately when it comes to glucose or glycogen and how the skeletal muscle will use it, or how fat cells will inappropriately store it when it is not utilized by the muscle. That is why they say exercise has an insulin-like response. However, something without calories or a zero sweetener that's responding to alcohol sugars or sugar substitutes, it has been proven in science that the brain lights up the same and if not even more, producing inappropriate uptake by fat cells even with the absence of actual sugar. I promise you this. And here is going to be my anecdotal example. Might even be real world. This is Power Crunch. These are protein-filled snacks that some people perceive healthy or would rather have as the least worst. I'm going to look at the ingredients and the calories here, okay? We're going to read the ingredients together. And they're going to say proto-whey protein blend, so it's a dairy-based protein. But the very next ingredient is palm oil. Now you're fucked because you're having seed oil in a snack. Anytime you're adding seed oils or something that is hydrogenated fat, processed fat, going into the body that is with sugar, especially in combination, you're in a bad way. That's where the body begins to overreact in inappropriate ways when it comes to the way that we process sugar and the way we process fats. They're two totally different energy systems. Done simultaneously at the same time, it's incredibly confusing to the body, especially when then you have the hyperpalatable brain dopamine response going as well. It's canola oil, fructose, multidextrin, stevia extract, baking soda, monk fruit. I mean, this has got at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We're going to go ahead and say that this has 15 ingredients amongst some of the things I just read to you. Now, we're going to go to the world famous La'ara bars. A little bit of glare here, sorry guys. La'ara bars. 18 bars. Nutritional facts. Not a SKU code. Nutritional facts. Here we go. One serving is 1 bar. The nutritional calories from 1 bar is 220. That's actually much heavier. 1 bar is 220 calories. That's incredible. I would have never thought there was 220 calories in this 1 bar. And it has 24 grams of it coming from carbohydrates. There are actually 4 grams of added sugars, which would piss Nurse Jen off. But let's read the ingredients. It's listed here for us on the side of the box, and we're going to compare it to the back. Dates, peanuts, semi-sweet chocolate chips, and sea salt. Interesting that there's an asterisk by the semi-sweet chocolate chips. So let's look at the ingredients. Here we go. Ingredients. Dates, peanuts, semi-sweet chocolate chips, which then in parentheses, unsweetened chocolate, sugar, cocoa butter, vanilla extract, and sea salt. There are no seed oils. There is no multidextrin. There is no even stevia. This is literally just sugar and chocolate, cocoa butter with peanuts and sea salt. And obviously dates are the base. If you wanted to serve your kids, or if you yourself wanted a snack, this is one of the, unless you're just eating almonds or if you're just eating bitter cacao, right? This is the way to go. Now, I got these as examples because we're hosting a 5K tomorrow. And when people are running 3.2 miles and they want a snack, I'm not going to say boo. And I want them to have just about anything. Well, this one has dextrin. Huh. These aren't actually so bad either. Doesn't mean they're good for you. It just means they're not so bad. But you want to know what the least worst is? It's the La'ara bar. That's the least worst. But if you told me right now, do I take a peanut butter chocolate chip La'ara bar or the Power Crunch protein bars? 1,000,000,000% of the time, you're going to go with the peanut butter chocolate chip bar and not get into that cephalic insulin phase response via the gut-brain axis that's going to alter gut bacteria, cause inflammation, and potentially the reason why these are looked at as cancer-causing sugar substitutes or sugar or artificial sweeteners. All right, guys, I'm out of here.